Hello everyone, it's the end of day 3, and at least for now, the magic is over here at Pro Tour Fate Reforged. But we've had 3 terrific days, Mr. Historian Brian David-Marshall, culminating in a moment of history.
Yeah, of all the Pro Tours that have gone on since that first wintry Pro Tour in New York way back when, almost 20 years ago at this point, we've never had a Spanish Pro Tour champion.
But we did something about that today. Why don't we get to the big board and show you what's been going on here on our top 8 Super Sunday. So let's take a look, and we begin our bracket up at the top with 2 Americans, Eric Froelich and Jesse Hampton, both BDM hugely experienced.
Yes, both players have previous Pro Tour top 8 experience, play all the time. Both were playing Obzon, and Eric Froelich looked maybe like he had the edge with a card like Zealous Persecution as kind of a stalemate breaker, but Jesse Hampton found a Tasigur, the Golden Fang, that was just kind of brutal after crawling back into the game with a Batterskull and a series of Lingering Soul tokens to take that match.
Yeah, so in the end, there you go, Jesse Hampton through to the semi-finals. We knew it would be an all-American top half of the bracket, which meant that Seth Manfield and Justin Cohen were up next. So this one, Burn for Seth Manfield, and Cohen with Amulet Bloom.
Yeah, a crazy deck built around this sort of like tool given to Magic's mad scientists called Amulet of Vigor. Amulet of Vigor is a 1-mana artifact. When it's on the battlefield, every time you play a permanent that would come into play tapped, you get to untap it. And with cards that people call the Karus, so Simic Growth Chamber and Selesnya Sanctuary, that give you 2 mana and ask you to return a land, well, you can play them, they come into play tapped, they untap, you can tap them before you return them or another land into play. Yeah, it becomes this whole song and dance with Summer Bloom and Azusa Lost But Seeking. You can actually just play and replay that land 3 or 4 times in a turn, maybe more if you have more Summer Blooms. Summoner's Pact goes and gets you Primeval Titan. Primeval Titan gets you more lands, some of which untap and then give the Primeval Titan haste and +2 and vigilance, and then the Primeval Titan attacks, and then you get some more lands that come into play. Anyway, that's what happened against the Burn deck, which really was pretty simple. Is trying to just cast lightning bolts, Eidolon of the Great Revel, and it wasn't quite enough to deal with, 16 points of power of attacking Primeval Titans.
All right.
It can also Hive Mind, but we'll save that for another match.
Like the semi-finals, for example. Justin Cohen, we can usher him into the semi-finals. So then the bottom half of the bracket, where you've got the number 2 seed Antonio Del Moral Leon of Spain up against the number 7 Li Shichan of Hong Kong. Now, I can tell you that it was the Spaniard who won that match. But now would be a good moment, BDM, to talk about the achievements of his vanquished opponent in the quarterfinals, Li Shichan.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Antonio was the person we knew the absolute least about coming into this day. Li Shichan, probably the player we knew the 2nd or 3rd most about, along with Eric Froelich and Jelga Vigelsma. 4 Pro Tour top 8s in a very short period of time, 3 of them coming in the modern format.
And the only one he doesn't have a top 8 in. He didn't play in.
Yeah, absolutely. Pro Tour Philadelphia. He didn't play in that, but since they started naming the Pro Tours, after the sets, Pro Tour Return to Ravnica, Pro Tour Born of the Gods, and now Pro Tour
Fate Reforged.
Fate Reforged. Is that where we're at this point? It's all one big modern blur. But Li Shichan has made the top 8 of all those, playing 3 different decks. Truly a modern master.
Nonetheless, Antonio Del Moral Leon went through with his blue-red Splinter Twin deck. And that meant a potential mirror match in the semi-finals against Jelga Vigelsma. But first, Vigelsma had to take on one of the other great stories of the weekend, Jacob Wilson.
Jacob Wilson, again, another player known for being a modern specialist. He's won a modern GP. He was the finalist at the Modern Pro Tour last year, rather heartbreaking fashion, and the hope was that he would get another chance to get to the top 8 and, maybe redeem himself. Great showing by Jacob just to get back, but he fell short against the Splinter Twin deck of Jelga Vigelsma, the Hall of Famer, playing in his 5th Pro Tour top 8. Just, one of the most experienced, professional, unflappable players in the game.
So Jelger Wiegersma advances to the semi-finals. And if we take a look, so that set up Hampton against Cohen for you and Morale Leon against Wiegersma. Now, we knew that you'd have a blue-red twin down the bottom, but it could be something very different coming out of the top. Hampton with Avsan, Cohen with this Amulet Bloom deck. What happened this time, BDM?
You know what? This was a crazy game. It came down to the last game. It came down to Justin Cohen being sort of soft-locked under an Aven Mind Sensor. So Aven Mind Sensor says if you would search your library for a card, instead you just look for that card in the top 4 cards of your library. It's kind of difficult. His deck is looking to do a lot of searching. Primeval Titan, Summoner's Pact, all these cards that like you really need to find very specific cards. And Justin was kind of like stuck under there and really had to go for it with the Primeval Titan and found exactly the only 2 cards, the 2 lands that had to be in the top 4 cards of his library, 2 very specific lands. It had to be Vesuva and it had to be I believe Sunhome Fortress or Slayer Stronghold, whichever other side of the missing piece, the 2 missing pieces to this like incredibly intricate puzzle that only he and Sam Black can do. And he did it, and he was able to get there for just exactly enough damage to take the match, just yank it away from Justin Hampton there.
From Jesse Hampton. Yeah. So Justin Cohen advances to the final. Then we had this blue-red splinter twin mirror between the Spaniard and the Netherlands. We knew we would have a European finalist. It was, in the end, Antonio Del Moral Leon who advanced once again to get into the final. So he advanced past Jelger Wiegersma to set up this final of Justin Cohen against the Spaniard. Now, at that point, well, you don't get to choose your opponents ever, but once you're into the final, you know what's coming, and if you're Justin Cohen, you know what's coming.
Well, you know, the little bit of a nightmare matchup for Justin Cohen, there's permission, there's disruption, there's islands, and most of all, after game 1, there was Blood Moon. His is a deck that really relies on mana, lands that produce 2 mana, specific colors of mana, being able to pay upkeep for pacts with specific colors of mana, and Blood Moon landing just spelt doom for Justin Cohen. And, basically, Antonio was able to control the game with his little blue creatures. He didn't even need his Splinter Twin combo to do it. He just needed to disrupt Justin enough that he wasn't able to.
And there you see on the screen behind us, Antonio Del Moral Leon winning the Pro Tour here, becoming the first Spanish player to do so. And BDM, he didn't come in to this event as much of a known player, but he's been around, right?
Yeah, well, this is a guy, he's played in about 15 PTQs in Europe in his career. He's played on a couple of Pro Tours before this. I believe this was his 4th Pro Tour.
This was number 4.
But, no results to speak of before this.
Right, although he's very noted on Magic Online, where he is currently qualified as one of the 2014 MOX competitors. So that's coming later this year. He will battle for that online championship. Currently, Lars Dam is the winner of that.
Where's that happening again?
Don't know.
Are you sure?
I'm not going to... I'm not... He tried. He knows I know. But no, anyway.
Yeah, so he qualified for this event by virtue of that MOX win.
But not only will he play for the Magic Online Championship, he will get to play in the World Championship, which, as we now know, I can tell you where that is.
Thank you.
That is going to be at PAX Prime in Seattle the last weekend of August. We're bringing 24 of the finest players on Earth to PAX Prime, the home of Wizards of the Coast in Seattle. It's going to be amazing.
Also worth noting, wins $40,000 for his efforts this weekend, and becomes a platinum member of the Pro Players Club, which means he gets maximum benefits for the remainder of the year, invitations to every Pro Tour for the end of the year, and invitations throughout next year on the Pro Tour.
Those are some very, very happy Spanish players. And it's no surprise, because for the first time ever, we can leave this show by telling you that there is a Pro Tour champion from Spain. It's Viva España. It's so long and farewell from the land of the free, the home of the brave, Washington, D.C. And in the end, it was the man with the lighthouse in the White House. Antonio Del Moral Leon wins Pro Tour Fate Reforged. For the Pro Tour historian Brian David-Marshall, on behalf of everyone here at Wizards of the Coast, I'm your host, Rich Hagon, saying bye.